Born in California. I grew up in Queens and Brooklyn, New York. I went to public schools my whole life. Sometimes my schools were not so great. Sometimes my schools were not so safe. But I always had like pockets of really good teachers at different schools. And I think I always knew since I was a kid that I want to make sure that every child has a great school that is safe, that allows them to be themselves, and that helps them get to their path of success, whatever they want. So you have to tell me more about that. So when I went to college, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be a public defender. So because I had friends who had gotten involved in, maybe gotten involved with something they shouldn't have done, got arrested, had to spend time in jail. And I wanted to fight against that and make sure young kids who make mistakes don't go away for a really long time. But when I was in college, I was tutoring kids at a local school. And I fell in love with that. And I realized if you can educate people and make sure that they make different decisions before they even get to being locked up somewhere, you're gonna change their life before they go down that path. So that's why I decided to become a teacher, and then I became a school principal, and then a superintendent, and now my job is CEO, but I'm still pretty much like the superintendent of the network. So I'm kind of the principal of the principals, yeah. And I basically am in charge of making sure all of the schools run really well, that we have enough money to do all of the things that we want to do, and that everyone has the field trips they want to go to and all the stuff that makes a school really, really great. So we're so proud of the work that you're doing in San Antonio. You guys have been going to school for the most number of days of all of our schools. You've been in school since September. And you've been going, and still taking your STAR state test, working really, really hard. And we are really, really proud of you, and you have people rooting for you all the way in the Bronx in New York, and all the way in Harlem in New York. So you should just know that. So I'll stop talking now so I can get your questions.
Okay. Lucia, you want to ask first? Jennifer.
How do you keep up with all the schools?
How do I keep up with all of them? It's tough. Especially during the pandemic because I couldn't get on an airplane for a while. But I would check in with Ms. Silva, and I would get the Zoom links to some of your classes and be able to check you out in your classes virtually, or talk to Ms. Silva and get her to tell me what's been going on and what she thinks is like some real highlights, and then what are some of the things that you're working on. And now that I can travel again, I try to get out to each of the different states that we're in a few times a year. So you'll see me a couple more times. When the new school year starts and it's a new year, you'll see me out here again. And I love San Antonio. I love the food. I love the people. I rented a car this time, so I actually got to drive around and check out the city. So it's a really, really cool city that you live in.
Angelique?
Have you ever been a victim of racism as a woman or African American?
Yes, definitely. Unfortunately, yes. I think everything ranging from being called the N-word when I was in school, or people questioning whether I have the intelligence to do the job, am I too emotional as a woman to do the job, and I think more structural racism. So I grew up in neighborhoods where there would be like a liquor store on every single block. And then you go into other neighborhoods and you're like, they don't have a liquor store on every block, right? So there's also structural racism too. But I think I've always had great teachers and great mentors who helped me see that that doesn't define who I am. I can still be whatever I want to be. Good question. Is it okay to go here?
Sure.
And then I have to come back to her because she had her hand up.
You have other jobs to do?
I have like one really big job to keep track of all of 22 schools and to make sure we're living out our mission at all of them. And then I'm a mom of 3 kids. So my other job is I have to take care of them and make sure that they're okay too. I love your glasses. Those are great glasses. All right, you in the back because I skipped you.
When you were a kid, did you like school?
I did. I was a quiet kid, little bit nerdy. I liked to read, and I really liked solitude, like my own time to read. I didn't feel like I had to like be the loudest or have the most friends. Yeah, I liked school a lot. School was the place where I felt safe, and school was a place where I always felt like my teachers. Most of them saw who I was and wanted me to be the best version of myself. Yeah.
Why did you choose the job?
Why did I choose the job? I almost didn't, because I really liked being a principal like Miss Silva of one school, where I could see the same 300 kids or 500 kids every day, and I knew them and I knew their parents. My school was in Harlem, but when people explain to me, if you take the job, you're going to be able to reach more kids. And you're going to be able to reach kids you can't even see right now in Texas and Vegas and other places. You know how sometimes people will say it's a calling, like something called you there? That's how I felt. So then I had to do it. Yeah. Who hired me? So when you get a job as like a CEO or a superintendent, there's a board. There's like a board of trustees who are in charge of hiring that person. So I had to do an interview in front of 9 people to get the job. 9 people, all in business suits. They chose me.
Brand, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. What do you like to do for fun?
For fun, I like to hang out with my kids. I have a 4.5-year-old son, Lucas. I have a daughter who's 7, that's Kate. And I have a big son who's taller than I am, named Kofi. So I like to hang out with them. I also like to read, and I like to watch TV. What do you like to do?
Oh, I like to stay in my room and sleep all day.
I like to sleep too. Sleep is very good.
What evidence do you give us?
What evidence?
Or advice?
Advice. Oh, I like that question. Advice. 1 is work very hard. Always work hard. Nothing that is worth having comes really easy. You have to work for it, right? 2, travel as much as you can. Go to as many places as you can in the country and out of the country.
Okay.
And definitely before you have your own kids, you want to travel a lot. See as many places as you can see. And the last one is to say yes to opportunities. I was super scared to take the CEO job, the superintendent job. It was scary. I was like, that's a big responsibility. But if I hadn't said yes to it, I wouldn't have known that I could do it, and I wouldn't know that I could have an impact. So sometimes you still have to say yes to the very scary thing. Yeah.
Have you ever been inspired by someone?
Yes, definitely. I've been inspired by my mom, and my mom actually passed away last June. It was really hard for me, but she taught me to always go after things even if it's hard. She had an amazing green thumb, so she could like plant a garden, and all I saw was dirt, and then there would be fruits, there would be different herbs and spices that she was growing, there would be tomatoes, and she could make anything grow. And she was also just a super strong, independent woman who was married, but always also had her own money and her own things, so that she was never too dependent on anybody. So she was really special.
Okay, any more questions, guys?
You had one earlier. Did you forget it? Same question. Okay.
Well, ma'am, I want you to definitely notice the sign behind you on the board.
Aw, thank you.
That's actually what we were talking about, is the salutation of madam as you walked in. I was teaching them what madam actually meant.
I'm gonna take a picture of it. What's special about that is when I became the superintendent a couple years ago, one of my colleagues got me a little nameplate for my desk that said Madam Superintendent. And that's what she would always say to me, and bow. And I'm like, you don't have to bow, but she was trying to be funny. But I'm gonna take a picture because this is so special.
And we also learned that the word madam is a salutation for someone of high regard, and it's actually French.
Nice, thank you.
And Miss Trivers speaks French. She learned French, and she's been to
Did she say a word?
Paris.
Yeah.
We could probably have a little short conversation
In
because
French?
I speak a little bit of French.
Yes.
So,
What?
I'll start.
okay, go ahead.
Je m'appelle Natasha. Je t'aime San Antonio. Como I'm forgetting the last
Comment
word. You go.
comment tu t'appelles?
Yes.
Enchanté. Je m'appelle Miguel et je suis de Mexique. Je suis très content que vous êtes ici.
Merci.
y bienvenue.
Oh, merci. Thank you.
So what Miss Trivers said, she said, my name is Natasha and I love San Antonio. And she asked me, what is your name? And I said, my name is Miguel and I'm from Mexico. And we're very happy that you're here and you're very welcomed. And we would say what Mr. Pierce said. We would say, bienvenue, Madame Trivers, because that's a French word. And yes, it's a word of prestige and someone that you hold in high regards. Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you guys. You're so fun.
So you guys could say in French, you could say to her, enchanté. Díganlo. Yes.
And then goodbye is au revoir.
Okay. Can we take a quick picture with you, Miss?
Yeah.